Hello and welcome to 110 Yards. I'm Coach Aaron Page, a Canadian coaching American football in Denmark. Talking with a great friend of mine, Seth Peters, the reigning champion of the Maple Bowl quarterback for Kuopio Steelers um, in 2020. You look like you're nice and toasty there under that heat lamp. How you doing?
Yeah, man. I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So right before we got on here, we were talking about numbers. I was like, "Hey, what's your email?" So I can send you the link. And it was like Seth Peters 11. So that was your number growing up, and now you're
Yeah.
number 5. What?
Yeah, exactly.
What? Why not? Why 5? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when I came to Finland, I wanted a bit of a change. Like I was just interested in something new. Um, and I didn't want the same old number. I had been number 3 all throughout high school and then all throughout my um, career at Hendrix college too. So I don't know. I came to Finland and I wanted something new. It was actually Becca's old number, the head coach.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, and so I don't know. We got along really well, and then it was just sort of like something new and also a tribute to him in a way. So it was, I don't know. It was just it all worked out with 5.
like a symbolic 5. Like to take
Yeah, it was like,
Becca's number.
exactly. It was like a little symbolic handshake. Like, all right, let's do this. You
Yeah,
know?
that's cool because it's
Yeah.
like what, we're uniting for the team, and both of you as the head coach and as the quarterback. You're sort of an extension of him, and where he calls the offense as well. So that's kind of like good that it shows the unity in that relationship.
Yeah, for sure. It's been
Yeah,
awesome.
and like I was always I told you my friend, he always used to say he's the QB you couldn't be, but then we that then that
Dude,
yeah, go ahead.
I love that, man. The QB you couldn't be.
And here's the thing, he was the backup.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Shout
it's
out
it's a
shout out to
little
Slaven Tizik.
it's a little less cool now that he's the backup, but it's still pretty cool, honestly. We were talking about like you have these numbers, like when I was young, I was like number 11, really famous quarterback number just because I thought that's what you do.
Yeah.
So now it's like, now I'm just thinking in my head that everybody, when they play football, is choosing the number of the dude they couldn't be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
all these quarterbacks, they're choosing the number and the QB that they couldn't be, man.
Why do you
It
think
opens my eyes.
why do you think a lot of these receivers now are like going away? Because when I came up, it was like you wanted to wear 88, Marvin Harrison, or 89, Steve Smith. All those guys were in the 80s. Like that was receiver numbers, and now it's like you want to be number 3 or number 13, or you want to be 14. Like why do you think there's like is it sort of like a rebellion against the old school maybe, or
Yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like it's probably going to come back like everything does. It's going to go in these waves. It's like right now, like 1 to 10 or 1 to 9. That's like the fast dudes. Those are the ballers
yeah.
because for some reason it's different. But I'd say like give it a few years, maybe 5, 10 years, and it's like 88 is going to be the coolest thing again. Probably. That's just how life is, I guess.
Yeah, maybe when CD Lamb gets a few more like because even what's his name was wearing 11, Chase Claypool. I got his sweater
Yeah.
right behind me there, the Mapletron.
Oh yeah, you got that Canadian connection.
Yeah. But yeah, it's strange and it's strange how like numbers kind of matter to players too. Like they feel weird if they don't get their number. And you know for guys that sometimes the European or American imports that come to the team, uh, someone's occupying a number they normally wear. So it's kind of like sometimes they can get a little weird about that, or I always wonder why, you know, the player doesn't make the number doesn't make the player sometimes, you know, it's the player who makes the
Yeah,
number.
yeah, it's weird to me too because that's something I never really paid attention to. Like, I think, like you said, probably a lot of players would be really stuck in their number. And if that's something they can't get, it's like a mental thing too. But for me, like I said, when I came to Finland, I was like, whatever, give me another number. Let's try something new. Why not? Like
Yeah.
I never personally got attached to my number, but I can see, and I've been with a lot of guys who it becomes like an extension of you as a player somehow on the field and off the field. Like it's such a huge culture thing in the States too, that even like your friends' parents, your buddies' parents, they'll start calling you your football number, Hey three, what's going on, three? What's
Yeah.
up, 11?
Yeah.
That like
Hey.
it's like, hey, what's up? It becomes like your identity, like part of you, So I can see how people would get attached, but for me, it was like it wasn't a huge thing.
That's so true because I was talking with Artur Shark, yesterday, and even Tommy Kachoa when I first saw him play in the first game in against the Roosters, and he was kind of balling out that season I was with you guys. I was like to up in the booth with Pekka. I said, "Hey, that 22, he's a good little player." And I knew his
Oh
name
shit.
and everything,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just like that natural like um instinct to refer to them by their number. And then
That
of course that
22 is a good little player.
yeah, that turned into that's still a running joke with the team, I think.
Yeah, like got memed.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see it's just a natural thing. You just like, hey, what's up, 22? What's up, three? What's up, 11? It just follows you around for some reason.
Yeah, and that you mentioned how, to you it doesn't really matter, you're like, yeah, let's try something new. But you kind of bring that along with most of your game, like from watching you play and practice, like you're what's the word I want to describe your demeanor is maybe stoic, like you're locked in, but you're not, and you're serious, but you're also like not taking everything, like you got a quick memory, like if mistakes are made or what have you, you're ready to go out there and fix it. Basically, you don't stew or let things get you. And like how did you get to that sort of like in the zone
Yeah.
mentality?
um, I guess it started when I was young. Um, I played sports all the time. I played every sport you can imagine. I was doing baseball, track, basketball, football, just everything. All year there was some sport in season that I was doing, and um, and because I started so young, I was just a pretty good developed athlete just overall, and especially at the high school level, that's really all you need. You just need a general athleticism to be successful in different sports. Of course, it doesn't work in the college level. You can't just I'm a pretty good athlete. I'm going to go jump into collegiate baseball, see how I do. But
Mm,
at least in high school, you can do that. So naturally, I think a lot of pressure came with these kind of things because I was playing positions, and especially quarterback, where they're really impactful in the game because that's just what you do. I'm sure a lot of guys have the same experience where if you're just one of the best players, you just need to be involved a lot, and that's basically how you win, especially in high school. And so I think it was the pressure that sort of like molded me how I was because sports were super serious for me growing up. Um, from the success that my dad had in high school and in sports, and then just the community in general. Everybody. It's a sports town. It was one of those little sports town where you see the signs like closed. I'm at the football game.
hmm
It's like it was one of those little towns, and we were a good team. And playing in a pretty high level, at least in Arkansas. And so I think naturally there was a lot of pressure. And at some point, I just found this mental space that I sort of just settled into. Like I got to this mental pocket sort of where I was able to succeed, and I was also able to enjoy the game, and I was also able to just go out there and play and not really think about the results that much. I'm not sure how it happened exactly, how I found the mental space, but eventually I just settled into this really comfortable headspace, and that's just where I've been at now in all sports that I do. I'm just cool, calm, collected. I mean, at the end of the game, it is just a game. Of course, you want to win, but why add pressure to yourself? Just go out there and play. And I think that's been like what I've done now.
Yeah, and at the same token, with that sort of mental pocket, as you called it, I found watching you play, when you guys would score, you would celebrate with the O line, or give a dap up your running back if he ran in a touchdown, but you didn't have those emotional swings. Like, you were happy something good happened, but then you were right back. So not just the negative things that happen, even when good things happen, you weren't like having those huge emotional rides. You were just like, yeah, good, we did it, boom, high five, yeah, good job, and then you were just sort of back in the zone. So do you find having it sort of go both ways is the key to having that mental pocket and that zen sort of in the game?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say for sure it's most important on the negatives, of course. I mean, if you're a roller coaster kind of guy and something bad happens, then depending on your position, especially quarterback, if you get into this mental space where everything is horrible, nothing is working, we have no chance, like you ride these emotions of the game, you can really destroy your team's chances of winning like really quickly. People look up to you whether they think so or not. People look to you to draw energy and to decide, how am I going to play this next quarter? How am I going to, how hard am I going to fight for this game? So I think it's especially important on the downs, but I think whenever you focus on that, like achieving that, getting in that headspace to where you just, all right, let's go, next one, through interception, fumble, whatever, something I can control, something I can't control, doesn't matter, let's get the next one. Then the positive just kind of comes along for the ride, like you don't, it's not a conscious decision. It's the same attitude as a pick. You throw it in, you throw a touchdown, good throw, bad throw, great play by the receiver, whatever it may be, controllable or not. It's just, let's go, nice play, nice job, let's get the next one. It just comes along whenever you start focusing on especially the negative and staying out of that like alleys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I think a great example of that, from the season I was there with you, is that game against the Crocodiles at home. At halftime, I believe we were down like 24 or something crazy, 24 or even 30 maybe. And then, you guys came out in the second half and put up. Anyway, I don't even remember. It was something record breaking half, because the final score ended up being like 85-53 or something insane like that. It was like it was a slaughter of a game. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. Like everything went wrong. We played terrible. They played great. They had a good plan. We, not that we didn't have a plan, but maybe we just weren't as focused as we should have been. And yeah, we come out of halftime down like, I don't know, 24, 30 points. And then all of a sudden we just, we can't miss, so to speak. Everything we did, everything was working. Like pick six, 100-yard pick six from Tommy, from
that
number
good
22,
little player. Yeah.
that good little player. Good little number 22 went and got 100-yard pick six, and like that just described the second half basically. If you're getting 100-yard pick six, then like you're gonna win the game.
And
So
that defensive coordinator, he hates Kuopio, I imagine, because that game happened to him 80 points, and then he came back as the Wolverines head coach to Kuopio, and it was like 72 to what was the score of that game? 72 to 6 or something?
yeah, I don't know. That was
Yeah.
bad, dude. It was 70 something.
This guy hears he has to go to Kuopio. He's like, that's a nightmare. He doesn't want that.
Yeah, it's 150 points in 2 games or something like
Yeah, and
that,
I'm
man.
fine with putting that in the public domain because it's literally on paper. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, no disrespect, but
yeah, but
it's a special thing in Kuopio though. Like playing at home, it's a new beast too, for sure.
oh, that atmosphere. Yeah, you got the fans, they got the drum, it's actually pretty incredible. Yeah, and so going back, you came up through Hendrix College, which is a Division III program in Arkansas. Did you think,
Yeah.
like, at what point were you considering coming to Europe? And do you think uh, that at that point you were like, you know what, I have a few more good years in me? Or like, had you reached your prime in college, or did you reach your prime later on playing in Finland?
Hmm. Yeah, I well, the first part I like learned about European football through my offensive coordinator, who Coach Jordan Neal. He's actually now the head coach at McMurray University in Texas, near his hometown. But he's sort of like he's like the guy of Division III RPO stuff. He's done podcasts and he's done lectures, and he's gone to conferences and all this stuff as a speaker, like teaching the RPO. And so I really looked up to him. I loved that offense where that was very analytical. It was very, no matter what you do, you can't win, basically.
Hmm.
And if you have a team that believes in that, and especially if you have a quarterback that can really run that and take advantage of that RPO, then it's just a really hard offense to stop. So he and I like got connected really well. Also, just a really great family friend. I see him every time I go home. He's always with our family. We're with their family, So still to this day, we're great friends. And he was the guy that introduced me to this like European football stuff, because weirdly enough, he played in Sweden for a year, and he was I forget the name of the team. Yeah, I'd have to check. I forget the name of the team, but he went and won the Super Series, I think it's called there.
Yeah.
At least the highest league, whatever it was, 10, 15 years ago, whatever. And so after that, he was like, dude, you ever thought about it? I mean, you could go over there for a year, play for the summer, come back, and then, do whatever you want. But he just, he was a huge believer in me as a player. So I think he just wanted me to try to go and play somewhere, whether it be high level or not, or just, somewhere. He just wanted me to try. So that kind of opened my mind to it.
Yeah, and so ultimately chose Kuopio and Finland, and we'll kind of get into that in a second. But you know, picking a league like the Finnish league, or let's say, for example, the German league, those are the upper echelon leagues, and maybe Austria, like those are the top in Europe. And
Mm.
so you go there, that's a lot of pressure. But as we talked about, you're a kind of guy that doesn't really phase you. But also you could have chosen a team, for example, in Spain or maybe France, south of France. Like there's two schools of thought with this. You can go and kind of have like not a paid vacation, but you can enjoy Europe a little bit and have like be around, or kind of, some guys, they bounce from team to team to team and sort of they teach some knowledge and they play the game, but they're or you're in Finland and you're what you ultimately did was take a team from Division 1, which is just under the top Maple League, and work it all the way up and eventually win the Maple Bowl. So do you think you didn't know what to expect your first year, obviously, and then you get there and you're like, okay, this is serious stuff, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
enjoy my time in Finland. But is there part of you too that's like, you know what, I could have gone around a little bit and saw some of Europe, just to play devil's advocate a little bit with that one?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I had a few connections at Hendrix too, just talking about what are the teams like, what are the different leagues like. Um, we had our strength and conditioning coach. I think he played in Germany many years ago. So we actually had a decent amount of experience on our coaching staff at Hendrix about different leagues in Europe. And yeah, so it was, for me, the most important thing. I wasn't necessarily after the most competitive league or the absolute best salary or the best accommodations or whatever it might be. The biggest thing I was after was like a community, and I wanted to go and jump into a community of guys that I really believed in and that believed in me, and that it's just was fun to be there. Like I said, like my whole sports career has been focused on not necessarily the numbers or the wins and losses, because those things will come, but just going out there and just playing the game, and I wanted to do that with a group that made it more fun. So that was like the first thing I was looking at. And yeah, after my first year, I would say then there was a little part of me that was thinking, like, because then I'd heard more and talked to more coaches and whatever. There's a little part of me maybe that was thinking like, yeah, that'd be cool to, go be in a warm country for, go sit on the beach, play a little football, whatever. But after we won the first division, my first year there, it was just like, it was unbelievable. The guys were awesome. The town was super nice. Of course, Becca was one of the main people there, and he was great. I became like an uncle in their family or something, So I think we were just all too tight for me to even consider being anywhere else.
Yeah, and that must have been a tough decision at a certain point, because after your first season bringing them to the Maple League, winning Division 1, you must have had a lot of interest from other teams in Europe, because same thing happened with me after my first season in Germany. As soon as teams know that you're willing to come over and complete a season, they're sort of like the risk factor of you or someone getting homesick or being like not exactly, what a team's looking for, or like a guy, that worry goes out the window. So now they're more willing to like come after someone as talented as you. So did you have a
Yeah,
lot of interest after the fact of the first season?
yeah, absolutely, man. That's like a huge factor. I think that's one of the most underrated factors in European football, that I don't know how many people understand this. I think in Kuopio we've really figured it out, but I think the reason that sometimes teams get these imports that may or may not be incredibly good players that just don't turn out or just don't produce, or whatever, is because they don't consider the culture and the person, and how can this person adapt to a new country across the ocean and learn to survive here on his own, and learn to communicate with teammates in a where English is not the first language, and how can he adjust to the practice culture? It's going to be different. People have jobs here. This isn't like what the first thing on the agenda is to do in Europe, is play football. People have to work. Sometimes they have families. It's a different mindset. And if you can't adjust to all these factors, then it's just going to be too much. You're not going to be a productive import. In some cases, you could even be an import that brings down the team. Maybe you make a few extra tackles than the native guy would make in that position, or maybe you make a few extra catches, whatever. But there are also some negative consequences that you have to consider. So I think finding a good import is a lot on the player. It's a lot on the ability for sure. But hand in hand with that, you have to consider the person. You have to consider, are they a good guy? Are they willing to come in here and, join in with this community and adjust, basically? So I think that's one of hugely underrated things. And like you said, that's something that is proven to everybody else in Europe. When you come here for a season and you have success, of course, if you're just in it, if you're Lamar Jackson and you come here, you're probably going to be fine. You can like, chill in your room. You don't have to talk to anybody, whatever. But those kind of players aren't here. We have some incredibly good players, but what makes them also good is partly because they can adjust to the culture and they can adjust to everything. And so if you're here and you have success for a season, not only do you have your coaches and your teammates as your like testimonies, but it just shows that this guy came, he had success. So he's probably got the right attitude and he's got the right mental set to come and have success in Europe, which is almost a totally different ball game when it comes to having success in Europe, versus somewhere else.
Yeah, and I agree, and and even with the European import guys, like a good example that I could think of with Kuopio when I was there was obviously Matthias, but also Bart from Poland. Like the guy just had that like magnetic energy. If he had anything, he was like cookies or whatever on the bus. He was like, "Here, you want some?" He'd give you half
Yeah.
of whatever he had. And also, the
Yeah.
guy was working a full-time job on top of being a player, and just like he was like going through the grind after a game. We'd be on the bus. He had to work 7 a.m. the next day, and he's laying down in the aisle of the bus because his back is just
Yeah, man.
like that guy was a and he's working hard labor job construction.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
guy was a special breed of human, and
He's a soldier, man. That's like, that's kind of the energy that you need too. And you can be a testimony to that. Like everywhere he went, people were smiling.
yeah,
We were just in a better mood with Bart around.
yeah,
Of course, it wasn't always sunshine and flowers. Everybody has their problems, and Bart did too, and we all do. But for the most part, anytime he was around, anytime he was in the game, we were just smiling. We were ready to go. We were just feeding off of his energy.
yeah. And so this season, ultimately, Kuopio, after 3 trips to the Maple Bowl and two tough losses the last couple years, I think it must have felt really good to win the championship. And going back, your first season in the Maple League, no one really counted the Steelers as going to be making an impact, and you guys reached the Maple Bowl the first season. Then the next season, I'm there. You guys are playing the defending champs. You guys put a good number on them, but then ultimately lost again, in the Maple Bowl. But how did it feel this season to, get after it and finally like win that ring and bring it all home?
Yeah, man, it was huge weight off my shoulders too. This is something that like Becca and I have like set out to do from day one. When I came here, we were pretty confident that we were one of the best teams in Finland, even though we were playing in the first division. So, and I mean, I still think that we're in the playoffs, if not the Maple Bowl, that year that we won the first division, of the Maple League. So I think we were really confident. We knew that we were one of the best teams in Finland, regardless of where we were playing. We went and took care of business in the first division. And then, yeah, just all the time, man. We just right there, so close every time. And we just couldn't get it done. Then I signed, after the first season, I signed a 2-year contract. And one of the big goals of that contract was, let's bring the Maple Bowl back to Kuopio, the first one ever. Let's do it. I have 2 years now. So let's go and get it done. And yeah, it was just a huge weight off my shoulders. Like I said, I think that's the biggest way to describe it. Of course, it was an amazing experience and so many positive emotions, but one of the biggest was just feeling like the weight of a city's kind of like expectations and hopes, at least within the organization as well, like being lifted. Everybody was able to just sit back and take a huge sigh, like, we did it, it's done, we have a Maple Bowl, nobody can ever take that away from us. You can talk about Corona, you can put an asterisk by it, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, our name is on that trophy forever. So I mean, and for me, that was the goal, and that's what we did. So it was huge for us.
Yeah, and I think Pekka is a huge reason for that. Obviously bringing you in, you guys building that relationship. I think Pekka's a phenomenal coach. He really dove into the RPO style of offense and really took a lot of, I'm sure, a lot of pointers from Hendrix. A lot of the huddle stuff. He had some of their film on there to show examples of the plays and things like that. But
yeah, we actually used the exact playbook too from Hendrix. I sent Becca our huge 1,000-page PowerPoint or whatever of Hendrix playbook, and that's what we did. So it was awesome.
And so how was that? Because that was kind of leading into my question of, as a coach, you're like, okay, this is something new, and I got a quarterback. This is the system that fits him. Was there a little bit of like a learning curve for him, and not like not arguments per se, but like, hey, this is how it's supposed to be, or kind of like some teaching moments from you, even though Pekka is a mentor for you, and being the coach that he is. Was there some good back and forth
Yeah.
on that regard?
Yeah, it was really good. I think we didn't treat it like there's a student and a teacher. We sort of treated it as we're both students, and we're kind of figuring this stuff out together. Of course, I had a lot of experience. I'd been running the same offense even in high school too, so I'd been running it for 6 years. So I felt really comfortable. But there were a lot of times where I couldn't really explain my decisions. I could maybe point to maybe some alignments of some players or something that might give me an indicator or a tip. But a lot of times, after 6 years of RPOing people, you don't really know the exact, if this, then that, and if not this, then that, and it becomes a really big feeling. You get out there, you see an alignment, maybe you just catch that this linebacker is half a yard too far in and he can't make it to that bubble. Maybe it's, and then maybe the next play, he's in the same spot or, whatever, but for some reason you don't like it. For some reason you can maybe sense that he's trying to get there. You kind of have just this feeling that he's trying to get to that bubble. I don't know why, but maybe something about his body language or his feet or, whatever. So it becomes like this super feely kind of flow of the game. You just have to get into it and just get flowing. And, he and I had just, really good communication. He had the same feel that I did. I think he could run the offense himself. It's so much about the decisions you make. And he really studied it hard and put in the time. And I think he and I, part of the reason we had so much success was because I felt comfortable in the plays that he would call. because I felt good about the play. There are plays that I would like to call myself even, so we were just on the same brainwave all the time. And,
Yeah.
maybe occasionally we had this like, maybe, I don't know if you should throw that choice there, or maybe you should have given the ball, or, yeah, there's arguments either way for those. So it was just a learning experience. It was good to hear the disagreements. It was good to hear that, okay, yeah, technically this corner is off. You should be throwing this choice. But for example, Lamar is heating up. Nobody can tackle him. That linebacker is just a little bit too far outside the box. Just give it to him. Like let him go.
Let him do it. Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that.
And that's the beauty of the RPO. I run a similar system here in Denmark that we will be running, and it's more like you have the core. Also you have that option where it's like when in doubt, you just give the ball. And then yeah, like you said, technically there's a pull read, but he's flat-footed, or you know what I mean. You're the one that's out there, so that's the biggest sort of like difference maker too. When you're up in the booth, sometimes you don't see the exact speed of the game and everything. But what I did really appreciate about Pekka is he does put the time in, and when I had an opportunity to be up there with them, he's very open, and if you let him know something, I made sure to always, when I mentioned something or saw something that it was going to add value or like make a difference in what was going on with the game. And I really appreciate the fact that he let me do that. It was a great experience to learn from a guy like him, and experience like football at that level as well, just for myself. I really enjoyed even coming down at halftime, and even coming to you and saying, hey, I'm noticing this a little bit. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is half the time you'd be like, I know, I see that too. That weak safety's coming in hard, so we're gonna have something there later on in the second half, or just as an example.
Yeah, and I really appreciated those things from you and Pekka, especially. Like, it's good to hear those things. I just think as a coach, you have to be selective in the things that you say. Kind of like you said. I mean, if you're saying something every play, if you're just in the guy's ear every single play, hey, this guy was here. Hey, this guy was like that. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you, this safety was down a little bit. Hey, he can't run with this guy. Hey, 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 like it just, you become noise,
Mm.
and so you need to be selective in what you say. And Pekka was very selective, and I feel like you were too. Pekka trusted me. He trusted my decisions. If we only talked, if something was going right, we were discussing how do we keep it going right. But if things are going wrong, we weren't, in each other's ear about, hey, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? We just trusted that, just keep running the offense, keep making your decisions. I trust you to call the play, I trust you to run the play. Let's just keep what we got going. And if you ever need to say something like, for example, oh, that weak safety is coming down, you really ought to look at that more. You need to look at that. When we call four verticals, you need to look at that middle seam just a bit longer and don't get off of it. Then whenever you say something meaningful like that, it sticks, and it becomes, it's not just noise about, hey, this, hey, that, hey, you, da, 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 da,
Yeah, you're not just saying
So
words to say them, basically.
yeah. And so we got to a really good point as a coach player relationship to where if I said something, we adjusted to it. And if he said something, I adjusted to it, because we trusted each other. And most of the time, the correct choice was just to do what we felt and just to kind of play the game.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, congrats to everything that you've done there, because, and now obviously you're taking this year for yourself. You got a good job now. You're out in Helsinki. How are you finding this sort of afterglow of all this, and, you know, um, and what your plan is sort of mentally to do this year with not having the game. You've been doing it probably what, the last 15 years, I want to say. So
Yeah, or more.
or more,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
no, like, you know, I can't relate because I'm still involved, but I imagine there's always a time where, you know, you're like, you know what, maybe you're not done, and I'm not gonna really ask you to expand on that, but you're done for right now. And not a lot of people, I talked about with my friend, not a lot of people kind of get to choose when they go out. It's very rare you sort of, you know, choose that, okay, I've done my business, you know, usually injury, or, you know, you're just too old and busted, or, you know,
Yeah.
you're not good enough to play anymore. So, you know, take me through that decision process, and how you feel about it now, and what your goals are for this year.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's a big decision. Big emotional decision. You know, those guys in Kuopio are like my family. And I am still very close to them. I've been back to Kuopio several times already since I moved here. So that's something that, those are relationships that I'll always have for sure. Whether I'm in Helsinki, whether I'm in Kuopio, whether I'm in the States, you know, whatever. Um, but it's a decision that just started creeping in on me maybe halfway through the season. It's something I thought about, you know, since I ended my career at Hendrix. Even I knew at some point, at some time, there was going to come an end to this career. You know, there had to. And I wanted it to be on my terms. And whenever I felt ready to step away and to do something else, and whenever I felt like I wanted to do something else, and with the contract ending, for the first time in my life, I could truly make a decision related to football based on like my own feelings.
Hmm.
I was given that that opportunity that I'm really thankful for, because not a lot of people are able to make that decision, you know, for themselves. Like you said, sometimes it's made for you, sometimes it's made by other people, you know, so it's sometimes it's something you can't control. So having that opportunity to decide for myself was huge. And I knew that I had sort of accomplished a goal that I set out to accomplish. And um, then I had a job, you know, close here to Helsinki, a really good job that I really like. And it's you know, making me a better professional every day. And I love the company. I believe in the company. You know, my coworkers and everything. It's something that I've been doing for a year now. And so the decision was just a big culmination of, you know, let me take a step back, and am I playing football because of all of these expectations? You know, am I playing because, you know, family and city and friends, and, you know, maybe it's just part of my identity that people have given me. You know, maybe it's a part of my identity that was given to me. You know, I'm not sure. You know, maybe not, but I was able to finally step back and decide, like, is this for me? And if not, if it's not 100% for me, then let's try something new. You know, let's just see how it goes with something else. And you know, the the retired feelings, I don't know if you can call it retired, because like you said, I mean, like I said in my like going away letter or whatever, I won't use the word retired, because I mean, you really never know, honestly. But but I haven't really got to experience that yet, because it's the winter, it's Corona, you know, people are inside, it's snowy, it's cold, it's dark.
Yeah.
Practices are just now getting started, and in like our serious practices anyway. So I think I need to wait and just kind of keep sitting back and keep reflecting, and just be patient to see how this decision like really feels.
Yeah.
I can say that right now it feels good. I feel like I made the right decision, and that, you know, I'm really happy here. I've really been enjoying my life in Helsinki, and just taking some time away from competition for a little bit. But you know, we'll see. Maybe the summer comes around and games start rolling and highlights films are coming out, and you know, this and that, and then we'll see how it feels. But you know, for now I feel okay, and I'm confident in myself and my decision.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it gives you some time, like you said, to reflect and also do some things that you never had the time to do before, whether that be do nothing like on a Thursday night and you know, you just do, you know, you play a game or you watch a movie. And also
Mm,
going back to what you said about getting in that mental pocket and in the zone and good and bad, you know, you take it with a grain of salt and you have that, you know, that mentality. You don't have to go to that space. You can sort of relax from that as well. And I think maybe that's a nice feeling or a nice thought to be able to get to enjoy, not having to go into that sort of Seth quarterback mode, you know,
yeah,
if
man,
that makes
and
sense.
it's yeah, for sure. It's training too. Like it's so natural at this point that yeah, I've got to like I have to actively sort of step back from it and just like, you know, it's all good. You know, I can feel the highs and feel the lows at their max. You know, it's okay. It's not going to cost me a game. It's not going to cost me a competition. So it's practice that's actually been really nice too. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's great. And in closing, you know, normally I think we had a really great chat. I think, you know, people are going to be really interested to hear your story and what went on. But I always like to finish off that being this a football podcast. Okay, if everything is defensively the way you want it, what is your number one play, like your favorite play to execute on the field? Like where you're just like
Oh,
where you're like, hell yeah, you know, this
okay.
is
Yeah. um, for me, I'm gonna go back to the RPO. In a very specific situation of the RPO. So sometimes you get this a lot. Sometimes they decide that, you know what, this running back is not going to beat us. We're going to just put 7, 8 guys in the box, and you just need to throw one-on-ones, or you need to punt, basically.
mhm,
And I've always had confidence in our guys, especially the single receiver on the RPO, the choice. He's got a pressed up corner. We've got like 7 or 8 in the box. Maybe there's man on the 2 receiver side and the safety
cheating.
away from the
Yeah.
single. Yeah. And so, you know, and everybody knows, at least on defense and offense and on the sidelines, everybody knows that you need to throw the fade to this single receiver, or it's going to be an incomplete. Like you need to complete a fade, or you basically need to keep doing that until you complete that fade, because
Yeah.
that's what the defense is saying. They're saying this is the only thing we're going to give you. And I always loved that. That happened so many times in Hendrix, especially when we were young, especially early in the career when nobody believed in us yet. They just gave us one-on-one after one-on-one after one-on-one. Happened a lot in Kuopio too when we first got to the Maple League. They just said, "Oh, let's just play man. Put the dudes in the box, and you know, whatever." And as soon as you catch that ball, you know you're letting it fly to you probably your best dude out there on the single receiver side. And it always feels so good.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen you do that on numerous occasions, and somehow the what I loved about you playing was the accuracy. Like you would drop that ball in there, and like don't get me wrong, like you know, to, to look at you, you don't assume that you'd have like the cannon of an arm that you do. So when you see that thing fly out of there like a howitzer, friggin' bullet shell, and it drops in and you get the nose down, you know, that like that beautiful arcing ball.
That
And then you're
turnover,
looking
yeah.
and then the guy, everything kind of, and it's great you mentioned a play like that because when that ball is at its peak,
Yeah.
the whole place is quiet. and the game kind of slows down for that instant.
Yeah.
And I could imagine you back in the pocket after you release the ball. If you don't get a hit, it just sort of like everything's silent, and as soon as it touches his hands, it's like 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 in a movie, all the sound rushes back in, and you hear the crowd
Yeah,
cheering, and
exactly, man.
it's
Everybody
electric.
holds their breath. Everybody's just like watching the same moment. There's no sound you need to make when you're just watching a ball fly through the air,
Yeah,
you know? And the cool thing about quarterback too is that you know if it's complete or not as soon as you throw it,
yeah,
you know? You can see a lot of people, they'll throw and then they'll see the ball and they'll start to like kind of jump excitedly, like, oh, it's about to be there, it's about to be there. And then boom, it's perfect. Like
yeah.
you already know that it's good as soon as you throw it.
I love it, man. Well, thanks for coming on today. This was a great chat, dude, and we should definitely do this again sometime.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
take care.